On their arrival overseas during the World War, 7 Coast Artillery regiments were equipped with the 155 millimeter GPF. This weapon, which fires a 95-pound projectile, designed primarily to fire on land targets, contributed its full share toward the success of the American Army on the battlefields of France. The gun is mobile and has a 60-degree field of fire. This limited traverse has been overcome for coast defense by mounting it on a simple concrete emplacement, which permits all-around fire. The caliber is about 6 inches. The maximum elevation is 35 degrees, and the maximum range is about 15 miles. 2 powder charges may be used, giving for the normal charge a muzzle velocity of 1,955 feet per second, and for the supercharge a muzzle velocity of 2,410 feet per second. After the armistice, the United States Army adopted the 155 millimeter gun as standard equipment. While still available for land operations, such as placing interdicting fire on roads, this mobile tractor-drawn gun has proved very useful in coast defense against rapidly moving naval targets, such as unarmored and lightly armored ships, including destroyers, submarines, transports, minesweepers, cruisers, and barges carrying troops attempting to effect a landing. The battalion commander issues his order to the battery commanders. At this conference, he announces the mission of the battalion. He indicates on his map the area in which each battery will be emplaced, designates the zone of fire for each battery, provides for supply and evacuation, and locates the battalion command post. The tractor column of this battalion is made up of the tractors and the vehicles drawn by them, including the guns and transportation for control, supply, and repairs. It is capable of a speed of about 3½ miles per hour. The tractor weighs 10 tons and the gun 13 tons. Consequently, the route for this column was carefully reconnoitered in advance, and the capacity of bridges and culverts along the route were ascertained. Anti-aircraft machine guns are distributed at proper intervals for march protection against hostile aircraft. The motor column is composed of trucks, passenger cars, and motorcycles. It is capable of a speed of about 10 miles per hour on a good road. The great difference in the rates of march of these 2 columns makes it necessary to divide the unit and to move the columns along parallel roads. Anti-aircraft defense is provided at intervals throughout the column. A good highway in close proximity to the selected position simplifies the matter of evacuation and supply. While the battery is en route, the battery commander completes his reconnaissance after a careful study of the map. He indicates the exact positions selected for the emplacement of the battery. His selection of these positions is governed by his tactical mission and by local protection and accessibility. Normally, his mission will dictate the field of fire. Stakes are placed in the ground to mark the center line of the field of fire in order that the guns may be emplaced properly with reference to direction. The guns must not be closer together than about 25 to 35 yards in order to localize the effect of enemy shell fire. Before the arrival of the firing battery, certain work in the organization of the position is performed by the advance party, equipped with the necessary tools and materiel. This will expedite the actual emplacement of the guns. Preliminary work will normally include the installation of the firing platforms at the positions indicated by the battery commander. The advance detail also organizes the position finding system while work progresses on the installation of the battery. They install the plotting station with its primary and secondary base end stations. The installation of signal communication is undertaken as soon as the location of the observation posts, the command post, and the plotting section have been determined. The position finding system is completed with the installation of the spotting system, with the primary and secondary spotting stations, and of the meteorological station. Proper coordination of these systems facilitates fire direction and control. The kitchen is located well to the flank and rear of the gun emplacements, under suitable overhead cover to prevent detection and to avoid hostile shell fire. The tractor column arrives. An agent sent by the battery commander guides it to the battery area. Each gun is directed to its proper position by its chief of section, whose individual problem it is to get the gun into position. In this particular case, it was found necessary to pull the gun through deep, soft sand, and 2 additional tractors are used to aid the one normally capable of handling the gun. The chief of section directs the maneuver so that the axis of the gun will be on the line of the direction stakes when the carriage wheels are stopped on the platform. Though the gun is resting on its platform, it is not yet ready to fire. It is still in the traveling position and must be prepared for action. It will take an hour or more to complete the emplacement. The wheels have been chocked to secure the gun in its position to cover its field of fire. The various wrenches and jacks have been secured and adjusted for operation. The trail spades are removed and placed in rear of the spade hole positions. The gun is now being moved into battery by the operation of ratchet wrenches and adjustment of the traveling bar under the supervision of the gun pointer. The trails are raised up by the operation of jacks in order to permit the withdrawal of the limber. While the emplacing operations continue, the tractor backs up to the drawbar, withdraws the limber, and takes suitable cover. Following the removal of the limber, the trails are spread and the trail spades adjusted to ensure a minimum of backslip to the piece when it is fired. The recoil of the gun is variable, growing shorter as the piece is elevated. At the higher elevations, in spite of the short recoil of about 3 feet, a recoil pit is necessary. Holes must also be dug for the spades. Anti-aircraft defense is provided without delay. Positions for the machine guns are improved and plans for defense coordinated as opportunity permits. The battery is provided with 4 anti-aircraft machine guns, which are assigned by the battery commander to afford protection to the elements of his battery against low-flying enemy aircraft. These guns are normally employed by sections and so emplaced as to be mutually supporting. To avoid detection by hostile forces, particularly aviation, immediate steps are taken to camouflage the battery. A study of aerial photographs taken by friendly planes before and after positions have been occupied permits the correction of camouflage errors. Fire on a pyramidal target simulates fire on an actual target and serves as a test of the battle efficiency of the command. The battery commander endeavors to place the center of impact of his shots on the center of danger space, represented by the target. By assuming this position of the target with reference to an enemy ship, the center of danger space may be easily seen. Compare the size of the target with the size of the ship. The actual danger space, as far as the ship is concerned, allows for some latitude in the determination of range and deflection. The resulting dispersion, however, is reduced to a minimum by careful training and orientation of equipment. The position finding system now operates to provide firing data for the adjustment phase of the problem. The meteorological station reports data on weather conditions for making ballistic corrections. The battalion commander assigns the target to the battery commander, who in turn describes it to the base end stations of the plotting section and to the spotting section. The base end stations then commence tracking the target and report its azimuth from each station to the plotting section at definite intervals, generally of 30 seconds. At each interval, the position of the target is plotted by the plotting section and the future course determined from the plotted points. The position of the target when the gun is to be fired is plotted preliminary to firing and is called the predicted point. Correction is also made for the travel of the target while the shell is on the way. This new point is called the set forward point and is the position of the desired center of impact of the projectiles. The plotting equipment of a tractor-drawn unit is carried in a trailer, which may be used as a plotting room. Azimuths reported from the base end stations enable the plotting section to plot the successive positions of the target by intersection. Having been corrected for conditions affecting the projectile during its flight, firing data is transmitted to and set on the guns. The command to fire is given as the target reaches the predicted point. The splashes observed by the spotting section show the range to be short. Spotters, sighting on the center of impact of the splashes, read the azimuth thereto and report these azimuths to the spotting section. The spotting section then plots the position of this center of impact on the spotting board by the intersection method. The deviation from the target's position is reported to the battery commander. The battery commander then sends a correction in yards to the plotting section, where it is applied to the data furnished the guns. The magnitude of this correction is the deviation of the center of impact just reported by the spotting section. Another salvo is fired using the corrected data. The spotters observe the splashes, and the spotting section reports the deviation of the center of impact over the target. The battery commander orders a down correction. A third salvo is fired. The spotting section reports the center of impact on the target. The adjustment phase is complete. The battery commander orders fire for effect. Firing is carried on at a higher rate of speed with a view to destroying the target in a minimum of time. While adjustment fire has ensured that the target is within the hitting area, the spotters continued to observe the splashes and to report deviations so that the battery commander may make such adjustment corrections as will ensure that the center of impact remains on the target. An enemy convoy is approaching. The battery is alerted and a strict observation is established. Soon after dawn, the observers detect an enemy transport, which, not suspecting the presence of our battery, is closing in to effect a landing of troops. The battery opens fire, the transport having been assigned to it as a target. Shells begin to fall about the hostile ship. The adjustment phase is quickly completed and a fire for effect begins. Speed and accuracy are essential. The target must be destroyed without delay. The firing is continuous. Corrections in range and deflection are being made to keep the center of impact of the shots on the target. The battery commander is constantly alert to detect a change in the course of the transport or a change in atmospheric conditions which might affect the shots. The shots are now hitting the ship, 3 or 4 95-pound projectiles a minute from each gun. The transport is helpless under the heavy bombardment and is unable to escape her doom. The guns continue to roar. The shells continue to fall, each hit sending the crippled ship nearer to destruction. Soon the transport commences to list and settle. Her days are over, and as she disappears beneath the waves forever, the battery is silent, its mission well accomplished, a duty well performed.